There we go. I do believe we are live. So I'll say indeed and greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. Thank you for joining me again on another conscious evolution. I'm trying to get things leveled out on this side. There we go. That should be fine. Today's stream topic is about critical thinking. Critical thinking. Are you a critical thinker? Are you a critical thinker? Type in chat. I'm critical thinker, Melt. I think critically about things. And if so, I'm curious, has it helped? Has it helped thinking critically about things? Today's stream topic is almost this, I want to say, perspective piece, right? Consciously evolving towards understanding more of our critical thinker, right? I consider myself a critical thinker, but, and this but is important, I want to preface that by saying that my thinking is literally critical, right? As it relates to criticism. And I don't know if that is necessarily a good thing, right? I am willing to acknowledge that critical thinking is a good thing, in large part, right? We need more critical thinkers. And I'm willing to acknowledge that thinking is a hard thing to do as well. All right, it takes resources. Hey, Zhao, it's nice having you. All right, you had to think to be here right now. But we can think more. So I'm gonna start asking the question. Me and my friends are discussing critical thinking today. I am trying to almost create a thought experiment in our collective minds to see critical thinking as a positive, as something that can serve your life, as something that can be good for you. If you think critically about your problems, you might actually be able to solve them. But I also want to add the perspective of thinking critically about things as it relates to criticism, as it relates to having critical thoughts of others, of yourself, of your life, of the things you're here to do, of the things other people are choosing to do with their time. Maybe you can give us some perspective, right? I want us all to be better off for having absorbed the information. Maybe give us some understanding about how we can better facilitate critical thinking in our own lives. Is that an old times again? Hey, so you have cute dimples. Also, feet today or none? I mean, you're closer to seeing my feet than you usually are because I'm in vertical right now. You usually join in the horizontal stream, and by that point, my feet is very far gone out of frame. We're dangerously close to you seeing feet. True, true. Understanding critical thinking. So, critical thinking is more than just finding faults or problems in something. Good to know. Good to know, right? That already gives me a sense of calm. It can be more than just finding faults. It is a systematic way of observing, questioning, and evaluating the world around us. At its core, critical thinking encourages us to move beyond surface impressions, like feet. I love you though. Thank you. Hopefully stays like this. It will for the vertical stream, while I'm here. Looking beyond surface impressions and snap judgments, allowing us to explore different angles of a situation. When done well, it leads to better decisions, more creative problem solving, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. The positive side of critical thinking. Mick Legend is really waving at me. Hey, Mick Legend. I don't think I've seen Mick Legend before. Might be Mr. Merkaba. I don't know. If it's just Mick Legend, let me see if I can see a profile picture. Nope. Big legend to someone new. Hello. Hi. I have to warn you that if you keep saying hello over and over again, you might suddenly not be able to anymore. All right. The hammer of ban might might descend down on you from the heavens above. I'm Bangladeshi. I'm South African. It's nice meeting you. It's nice meeting you. I hope Bangladesh has been treating you well. Today we're talking about critical thinking, right? And I want you to really absorb the words I'm saying right now because they are important. They're going to serve us in thinking critically going into the future. There are positive sides to critical thinking. Amongst them is problem solving, personal growth, and better decision making. The first point, by example, by examining the root cause of our challenges, we can identify actionable steps to resolve them. Critical thinking breaks big problems into smaller, more manageable pieces. Yeah, I'm willing to acknowledge that, right? Because we can, at least I have noticed in my experience, get overwhelmed. We can get overwhelmed with all we have to do, and then we might literally feel ourselves switching off, like our brains incapable of processing information properly, incapable of critical thinking. Smiling. I'm earthing. Good. I'm earthling. Double good. Nice having you here, dear earthling mojo. Personal growth. It helps us analyze our own habits, beliefs, and biases. Through such self reflection, we can refine our goals and align our actions with our values. Better decision making. We're more likely to choose a path that works for us if we have accurately weighed the pros and cons, identified assumptions, and considered relevant evidence. Hey, wait, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. You should not be doing that. Doggo is chewing on the cushion. Hey, stop that. You stop that. Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, critical thinking versus being critical. Here we go. Here's the part of the conversation that I was meaning to have. Joy Viv is here too. Hi, friend. So, critical thinking versus being critical. Critical thinking can bring with it constructive criticism, where being critical brings with it destructive criticism. Thinking critically doesn't mean tearing others down. Instead, it allows us to ask sincere questions and provide feedback that can lead to improvement. Doesn't always work. I'm self-parsing. Self-compassion. When applied inwardly, critical thinking can sometimes veer into self-criticism. I sure know it does for me. Recognize that being honest with yourself is powerful if it is paired with kindness. Instead of shaming yourself for mistakes, use that knowledge to do better next time. Think about it. Think about thinking betterly next time, okay? And then observation versus judgment. It's important to distinguish between observing, gathering facts, and noticing patterns, and judging, making definitive claims with limited information. Judging is to make definitive claims with limited information. I like that perspective. Critical thinking thrives on accurate observation and balanced evaluation. Accurate observation and balanced evaluation. Critical thinking is more all-encompassing, and being critical in your thinking is leaning towards one side instead of the other. You're still using the power that is your critical thought. White Crow, it's nice seeing you. It's been a while, friend. You're still using the power that is your critical thought, but now instead you're using it to create balance, all right? To gather more information, to accurately observe and with balance evaluate. Practical ways to cultivate critical thinking in daily life. Ask better questions. as the first suggestion. Whenever faced with a statement or a challenge, practice asking, how do I know this? Or what evidence supports this idea? Use the 5 whys, a technique to drill deeper into a problem. Each time you give an answer to why, follow up by asking why again, until you reach the core of the issue. At least 5 whys. So let's do it as a thought experiment for something like this. Why am I holding it? Because it helps me evaporate THC off of leaves. Why do I want to do that? Because I want to inhale them. Why do I want to do that? Because it makes me feel a certain way. Gives me an experience and I want to share that experience with other people. Why do I want to share that experience with other people? Because I believe experiences are some of the most valuable things we can have in this world. Why do I think experiences are valuable? Because I keep finding myself spending money, spending time. Yeah, those two, I guess. To have more experiences. I feel like I've run out of why, but I want to ask the question of like, why am I doing this? Because it is the best, most valuable thing I can give where I am right now. Yeah. I think I might have tried to escape the true crux of my whys. Maybe I dug right past the core of the issue and went somewhere else. Keep an open mind. Seek out perspectives that differ from your own. I do try. I think I'm still limited in that way. This might mean reading different authors who challenge your viewpoints or talking with people from different backgrounds. Yeah. I need to read more of Nietzsche's work with that in mind. Like, me and Nietzsche probably wouldn't get along that well, realistically speaking. I think me and Jung would be like big homies. Me and Freud, I would hate Freud's God. I would make fun of Freud, and he would hate me for it because I was disrespectful. I can see that. I can totally see that. Terence McKenna, yeah. But I don't. Do I listen to people that I differ from? That's the question now. Who do I listen to that has different perspective than mine? As I'm thinking critically about it, very few people. I do tend to put myself in an echo chamber. But not always. Not always. I'll pay attention to other sentiment, but I won't feel good about it, if that makes sense. Yeah, totally. Recognize confirmation bias, the tendency to pay attention only to information that agrees with your existing beliefs. I was just saying that. I was just recognizing it as well. Good on us. Yeah, by intentionally exposing yourself to a range of ideas, you keep your mind flexible. I try, but it makes up a very small sliver of my total information diet, to say it in such words. Separate emotion from analysis. Emotion often clouds our judgment. While they matter, it helps to momentarily step back and question how emotions might be influencing the way we see a problem. I don't think we do that a lot, do we? All right. Usually when we feel emotions, we're pretty set on the emotion having been felt, right? And it's like, oh yeah, I'm feeling this thing. And I'm angry about thing right now. Angry now. What? Starts manically screaming. All right. But we don't go, how was this anger influencing my critical thinking? I don't, at least. Journaling can be helpful, true. It can be a helpful tool for pouring out your emotional reactions and then returning to the issue more objectively. Practice reflection. After making a decision or solving a problem, reflect on what went well, what didn't, and how you could improve next time. Reflection turns the lesson learned into a repeatable pattern for future problem solving. And the final few points is engaging in healthy debates. Healthy debate in a safe environment. Just suddenly feeling giddy. Help sharpen your thinking skills. You learn to listen, acknowledge other viewpoints, and formulate reasoned responses. Practicing respectful disagreement. I have trouble with that. Practicing respectful disagreement can help you see the strengths and weaknesses in an argument, even if you still ultimately disagree. And then the final ones is balancing criticism and compassion and long-term benefits. So within balancing, empathy in conversation, empathy in observation. When examining someone else's choices, try to put yourself in their shoes. You might discover context or motivations you wouldn't have considered otherwise. Gentle honesty with self and others. Rather than calling out failures, propose solutions or improvements. Similarly, when self-critiquing, treat yourself the way you treat a close friend in a tough spot. And purposeful feedback. Ask yourself, what is the goal of my critique? Is it to help, to punish, or to vent? Aim for a mindset of growth for yourself or whomever you are talking to. And then finally, the long-term benefits thereof. You can expect improved relationships. Surprise, surprise. Communication gets more constructive when people learn to express skepticism or disagreement thoughtfully and with respect. Confidence in decision making. Over time, you'll trust your judgments because you've trained yourself to look at problems from multiple angles before concluding. Confidence in decision making. I feel like that's almost the most undersold aspect of critical thinking. And maybe that's something we can focus on for a little bit. Confidence in decision making. Do you have confidence in your decision making? Pretty loaded question, don't you think? Do you have confidence in your decision making? Over time, you'll trust your judgments because you've trained yourself to look at problems from multiple angles before concluding. My favorite perspective on discussing something is to imagine that something being a ethereal, nondescript, invisible 3D object. And as soon as you start to talk about it, and as soon as you try and critically think about this thing, you're doing what is essentially placing paper mache over this invisible 3D object. And with every critical thought, and with every well-spoken word, you add more and more definition to this thing that it is you're discussing. This thing that is you are trying to understand. I spend a lot of time critically thinking about what the future is going to look like. Right, over time, trying to trust my judgments on what I think the future is going to be like. I feel the thing that I keep facing in my life is that I keep being given new sets of information. New things keep coming out, right? Some of you friends might be invested in the stock market. No, I'm not, unfortunately. Not the stock market itself. But I've wanted Nvidia stock for a very long time. I still want like CRISPR therapeutic stock. I don't know if I'm looking at any other stock right now, really. I should be more vigilant to stuff like that. But if you owned a bunch of Nvidia stock, Yesterday was not a fun day for you, right? Nvidia lost 600 billion US dollars of market cap in a single day. It's pretty bonkers to lose 600 billion US dollars in market cap. That's a lot of billions of dollars. And it happened because DeepSeek, DeepSeek R1 came out. And that's basically the equivalent of your ChatGPTs, and done so on exponentially fewer hardware units, right? Less monies, right? They had to spend less value in hardware and less time in work to get to something that is equivalent and in some ways better than $200 models that are available to us right now. And some of you friends might know as well that there is an incentive, Stargate, set to build a 500 billion US dollar data farm, or, AI farm. It's probably going to be nuclear powered, to add some more pizzazz to the whole fractal. And then suddenly, overnight, a company that spent like 6 million US dollars, 6 million US dollars, come out of something comparable and open source, by the way, as well, than the best tech we have available to us from the best American tech companies. Right? They were still technically using NVIDIA GPUs. And I don't think this is really bearish news. Not really bearish news, because the fact that the fact that technology is open source, one, means that every single language model and their mom is going to be using that technology as well. And as soon as they do, it'll make every single one of our language models more energy efficient, which means that we can potentially just add more processing power and process harder. On that note, let's actually ask some questions. I'm going to have to switch models. You get one that accesses the internet. Me and my friends are having a conversation about DeepSeek right now, the Chinese AI company or product. And I'm curious because we have seen, significant drops, like 14% value drop in one day from NVIDIA. But I believe it's not really that bearish news that these new models are running on hardware or cheaper hardware than our current models do. Because I believe, because it's open source, all of that understanding about the efficiency of the technology will be implemented in our current tools. And we will just have even more powerful tools for the current level of hardware we have access to. Am I ignorant? Does that check out? Dreamy. Bless ye. Fit Demons here too. So much love to you, friends. Overthinking and indecision are big problems for me. Maybe you should start critically thinking instead of overthinking. I'm having an okay morning. Happy Tuesday, friends. Happy Tuesday to you, Dreamtooth. Your perspective on the recent developments in AI technology is insightful. Let's delve into the key points to provide a clearer understanding. DeepSeek's breakthrough and its impact. DeepSeek, a Chinese AI startup, has developed an advanced AI model called R1 at a fraction of the cost and computing power typically required. The model was built for under 6 million US dollars. And again, they're building an AI farm. The plans have started for 500 billion. 500 billion US dollars. And these oaks did something very wild with 6 million and with less time, contrasting sharply with the hundreds of millions to billions spent by firms like OpenAI and Anthropic. The success of DeepSeek has caused significant turmoil in Silicon Valley and Wall Street, leading to a massive sell-off of tech stocks, including a 17% drop in NVIDIA's shares, wiping out over $600 billion in value in one day. Yeah, it's true. Efficiency and open source implications. DeepSeek model employs a technique called mixture of experts, which activates only the necessary computing resources for a task, making it incredibly efficient. This innovation challenges industry norms, potentially democratizing AI development and reducing energy consumption. DeepSeek's approach challenges the notion that advanced chips are essential for top-performing AI systems, suggesting that the U.S. export controls may be ineffective. Market reactions and future outlook. The market reacted sharply to DeepSeek's announcements, with NVIDIA experiencing a historic decline. Yeah, technically, this is the single largest value lost from a company in one day ever, right? In our entire history. And we're probably going to see bigger swings in our future too. But yeah, again, sharply with the announcement, with NVIDIA experiencing a historic decline in market value due to concerns about the new AI model with Chinese startup DeepSeek. DeepSeek's AI model, built in 2 months for under $6 million, without needing NVIDIA's expensive chips, sparked fears of reduced future demand for NVIDIA products. NVIDIA stock plummeted nearly 17%, leading to a record $589 billion loss in market capitalization and a $20 billion drop in Jensen's, the CEO's, net worth. Ew! Suddenly, overnight, you are worth $20.8 billion less. Oh my God, it hurts just to imagine. But to those people, it doesn't matter, right? Maybe it does matter. Maybe it kind of hurts seeing your paper money being $20 billion less worth. Like that is kind of wild. Let's acknowledge. But again, I'm not being like, oh, shame. Poor Jensen. Jensen still has multiple billions of dollars. He's fine. Your perspective, your optimism about the open source nature of DeepSeek's model is well founded. Yeah, of course. The transparency and lower cost of DeepSeek's model pose a challenge to American enterprises, including OpenAI, which is literally the AI I'm using to read this piece of information right now, which has invested heavily in technological advancements. Concerns arise about the impact of this development on the US national security and the potential for Chinese AI to set global standards. Despite this, figures like Microsoft CEO believe more efficient AI technology will boost the overall industry. In summary, while the market has reacted strongly, the open source nature of their model could indeed lead to broader benefits in the AI community, fostering innovation and efficiency across the board. Yeah, huzzah. Mojo. Love is true. Yeah. What a world we live in. What a world we live in. And I think NVIDIA was the most valuable company on planet Earth when this happened, technically. Let me just make sure. Was NVIDIA the most valuable company on planet Earth when this happened? I think so. I think so. Am I wrong? Yes, I was right. At the time of DeepSeek's announcement in January 2025, NVIDIA was the most valuable company on the planet. Prior to the market's reaction, NVIDIA's market capitalization was approximately $2.9 trillion, placing it ahead of other major companies such as Apple and Microsoft. However, following the news, NVIDIA experienced a significant decline in stock value, resulting in a loss of $600 billion. Yeah. The largest single-day loss in US history. $600 billion. What the fuck? That's crazy. That's so wild. That's so wild. Can you imagine? No, I don't think we can. I don't think we can really imagine. My mind wants to, like, and again, that loss is relative, right? Because they didn't really lose $600 billion, right? There wasn't $600 billion that they had access to and then suddenly it was gone. That's not how it works, really. It's more, again, a market capitalization thing. So there's a certain amount of NVIDIA stocks, and each one of those stocks is sold for a certain number. And since we're in a market, one person is willing to sell their stock and one person is willing to buy their stock. And then there is a an agreement made between what is the fair market value, right? What is the amount of money I'm willing to sell it for, and what is the amount of money you're willing to buy it for. And because of that number changing, people not agreeing on how valuable the singular stock is, if you had to times the number with the stock shares, the value is now $600 billion less. 600 billies. I feel it took a while as well. It didn't happen instantly because I was already in the loop of DeepSeek. I was like, oh wow, how about this DeepSeek we're having? And then like a day later, the entire stock market crashed or something. Didn't it take like a little bit of a while, like a day or something, before Nvidia actually crashed? I remember seeing things about DeepSeek and then only seeing the market properly crashing. Maybe that's exactly what happened, but what was the exact delay between the actual announcement of this new model and the market crashing? I'm rolling your banana. Searching. You're correct in recalling a delay. Oh, yeah, between the announcements. The significant market reaction. Here's the details. January 20th. Yeah, as you see, a fair while before. Because I was like, I kept seeing stuff about this new model. DeepSeek, a Chinese AI startup, unveiled its AI model R1 on January 20th, 2025. The model demonstrated performance comparable to leading Western AI models, but was developed at a fraction of the cost and without reliance on advanced hardware. January 27th, approximately a week after the announcement, major US tech stocks experienced a sharp decline. Nvidia stock in particular plummeted nearly 17%. Big loss. Information assessment. It took time for details of DeepSeek's achievement to reach and be fully understood by investors and analysts. Investors likely needed time to assess the potential implications of DeepSeek's model on the AI industry and companies like Nvidia. Decision-making process, institutional investors often require time to make decisions. It's true. I'm curious to know if there was any person that predicted that this was going to happen. Is there anybody that sold all of their Nvidia stock before the actual crash happened? I don't think that we should be able to get information like that, but I am curious. I'm hearing what sounds like, oh, there it is. I was saying I'm hearing what sounds like a bug, and then I spotted it. What is that in reality? I'm not exactly sure. The bug or the AI models? As of now, there is no public information indicating that any individual or entity predicted the specific impact of DeepSeek's announcement on Nvidia's stock or sold their Nvidia holdings in anticipation of the subsequent decline. In fact, following the sharp decline, some industry leaders have expressed views that the market reaction may be an overreaction. For instance, former Intel, I also believe it's an overreaction. Additionally, retail investors purchased a record amount of Nvidia stock during the downturn, with net purchases totaling $560 million on the day of the decline, the largest amount on record since 2014. That is pretty big net purchases. That is pretty big net purchases. It's true. I was trying to equate it to volume in my mind, but I don't think they're the same thing as volume. Not necessarily. These actions suggest that rather than anticipating the drop, many investors were caught off guard and some viewed the decline as a buying opportunity. Yeah, Nvidia is still very expensive per stock, per share. It is wild to think it going up more, right? A company that's now worth 2.3 or 2.2 trillion US dollars is now going to become worth more trillions. Then 3 trillion, and then 4 trillion, and then 5 trillion, and 6 trillion. What's the argument for Nvidia growing going forward? I see it as a matter of, I guess they'll have to sell more chips, and they have like very good margins. They get to sell their chips for like thousands of dollars of markup. But do they really have it in them for long-term dominance? Thinking about TSMC already starting to make their chips with Samsung, or at least they want to going forward. No, what am I saying? Nvidia wants to make their chips with Samsung going forward, so they're already trying to like de-stress or decouple themselves from the whole Taiwan tensions as well. I'm imagining China is not going to just lay around and wait. They're probably already developing so many of their own chips as well. And especially if they can do stuff like this for a fraction of the cost and with, literally last gen hardware, what will they be able to do if they build the tech themselves? And especially if they have AI that can help them do that. Poor AI model is going to be like, what's this guy trying to say? Yeah, like artificial intelligence, right? That is why NVIDIA is worth as much as it is right now, technically. Your inquiry touches on critical aspects of NVIDIA's future. A leader, a little more envisioned expansing. Yeah, technically the high-end robotics is going to be a big deal. It's true. They do want to get very into the productions of roboters. They're going to basically create like whole suites. It's going to be like the app of robots. They want to do that. That's what they want to do. They want to build an app so you can robots. And then you have to buy their chips, and then their apps run on their chips so that your robot can robot efficiently, appropriately. Conclusion: while NVIDIA faces challenges from emerging competition and geopolitical uncertainties, its strategic initiatives in AI infrastructure, diversification of manufacturing partnerships, and expansion into robotics and software development position it for sustained growth. The company's proactive approach to navigating the complex global landscape suggests a commitment to maintaining its leadership in the technology sector. Yeah, living in a capitalist world where number must go up. Number must go up, always. If it go down, we'll fire you. I don't think they'll fire Jensen. Under Jensen, they did probably see so much growth as well that I don't think they can really blame him for, other people using their chips, because it's still their chips that the new AI model ran on as well to make that tech better or whatever. All right, I'm gonna open chat again. But there are no new comments just yet. Good morning, visionaries. I do like that. Envisioning what the future will look like. We now have AI that's better, for cheaper, and also faster. Right? If you had to tell me, and I've been bullish on AI this whole time, right? Like believing it's gonna keep growing. If you told me last year that the AI I think is good right now is going to be made better for literally a fraction of the cost of the tech that I'm using in that moment, I wouldn't know how to believe you. But I really like this whole, what do they call it? Expert nodes or something like that. Yeah, switching on only the brain cells you need. It's almost like our brains do that as well. I thought of Duck Dad yesterday. I've been missing him too. I'm guessing he's surviving the cold out there right now. I'm sure he'll be back when he feels comfortable in finding himself in this space. Maybe he tunes in and just listens on the sidelines, who knows? I went to a surprise engagement party for my niece. These kind of riches. Was the surprise engagement party for you a display of other people's riches? of like throwing a whole party to get engaged, and then having whole parties for the groom and groomette, the groom and the bride, and then a whole party for them getting married, right? And then ideally a vacation together afterwards. Those are some kinds of riches. Those definitely are some kinds of riches. I'm guessing those are the people who bought Nvidia stock in the year 2000 when it was 20 cents a share. Isn't that bonkers? All right. So it's still like it dropped, but it dropped to like $125 from like $145 or something like that. So if you invested when it was 20 cents a share, you'd be like so fine, 100% okay. You'd have all the riches to have all of the engagement parties. It's so wild that we have a financial system that most of us are made, I want to say almost, completely unaware of. Nah, the warm feelings are good. These kinds of riches, okay, I get what you're saying. Like feeling those feelings and being like, ah, yes, these are the real riches. Yeah. People loving one another. That is ultimately what it's boiling down to. I was trying to change the subject, family system. Today's stream topic has been about critical thinking, Maula. And I feel it's one of those things where the thing my mind spends a lot of time trying to critically think about is when it comes to, what our world is doing right now. Susan and Mark? Susan and Marak? I think that's the way I should say it. Hi, friend. How you doing? How's life treating you? In today's stream topic, we're talking about critical thinking. I was bringing this perspective to us today so we can think about how we can think critically and not think destructively, right? Not be judgmental in our thinking as well, to try and create balance, realizing that critical thinking is full, right? If you critically think, you probably haven't if you're 100% convinced, right? You might be convinced of your chain of thought, of your reasoning to get to that point, but you still, if you've critically thought enough, have some reserved hesitations to be like, could be something differently. I've tried problem solving how to see the stream title, but I couldn't figure it out how to see the stream title. The stream title for me is Talked About the Critical Thinker. How are you, Dream? Hey, Mr. Merkabastic is here too. It's nice having you, friend. Bless. Sending you love. Yeah, my mind is loaded with critical thinkings. Thinking about what our future is going to look like. All right, wondering if there is any way for us to decouple ourselves from our current motivations. And the reason that the whole DeepSeek thing came up is because I feel it is a kind of critical thinking that happened there. Right? If I had to critically think about where the future is heading, AI does make a lot of sense. And then for a company to give us an equivalent AI, right? A good AI by today's standards, a good language model by today's standards, for a fraction of the price. And you can, technically, and I'm saying technically, relatively, because they've done this, you can run that entire model locally. It's a little bit big if you want to run the full parameters, but you can spend less than $200,000, which still sounds like an insane amount of money. But you can spend less than $200,000 and have an actual genius living in a computer on your desk or living in a closet in your house. Right? Right now. Right now, that's the case. Right? They did spend all of that money on the hardware, but you don't need all of that hardware to now run the open source model. Ourselves, we chillin'. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Chillin', bro. The robots are coming. NVIDIA is going to play a big role in that as well. Like, I'm willing to acknowledge that part. And again, this critical thinking, the way I feel it kind of like pushing us is that it is making us reconsider what we consider as valuable. Right? Because if you had to like argue with shareholders, if you had to argue with the people at NVIDIA and tell them, by the way, this Chinese company is asking you permission to release, a significantly more efficient model, which means by its nature, it will literally need less of the hardware you are bargaining this shares you're holding for will sell more of. They'll say no. They say, hell no, don't do that. Don't release this better AI, more efficient AI, and don't open source it. Don't do that. All right? And in that way, again, coming back to our critical thinking, they are also critically thinking, because in their critical thought, they think if less people want to buy these chips, then the company's stock is going to be less valuable. All right? So I don't want that. And yet, that is the state in which we are existing right now, where the wants of an individual, the wants of a group of people, is becoming less and less true. I want to use those words. And this open source nature we're tending towards, like there's two parts of reality of humanity right now. There's like the closed source, for profit, do whatever it takes to get ahead mentality, like the whole IP, the whole patenting, and then making your patents a part of your portfolio that you sell to investors to be like, oh, look at all of these patents we have, which means only we can provide this technology, which means people have to pay us. They have to pay us in the future, right? And like the way I see it is that, there's companies like Meta, right, where they're bargaining on both. They have a closed source kind of company facing shareholder side, and they're also contributing and adding to the value of open source software. They were really they even called themselves Meta, as in like the meta reality. And I feel like people are literally going to call it something else just to spite them. But all of these other companies are not just going to use Meta software because they were first or whatever, right? Like we are seeing so much choice arising in our future, and it is kind of due to our split world, to a bunch of different people critically thinking for themselves. And yet, if we had a better system, we wouldn't have to critically think in ways where we try and, I want to say, outcompete our opposition and instead work together to improve things. Like my mind is going down the rabbit hole of, if everybody was working together, they would charge us absurd prices and they would slow the release of new products to a halt, because who else are we going to buy our products from? So, like, critical thinking is hard. It's really hard. I don't think critical thinking is something that we get to go without, even though we might want to. And you might want to enough to the point where you don't, but I still believe that there is a part of you that's always thinking about things, right? And you cannot silence him. You can only drown him out, or her, or they them, right? You can only drown them out. No silence. You can only add more noise. Totally. Melting perspective, always. We can't wait for change. Be the critical actor. Who are going to be those good actors in the marketplace? I believe the future of decentralized ledgers has a very big chance of helping us as well. There's a bunch of technology out there right now. BitTensor is one of them as well, right? Providing like an infrastructure, a network that allows artificial intelligences to contribute to that network and be rewarded appropriately for the amount of intelligence that they add. And now, alongside us being able to add more intelligence for less power and less hardware costs, means that we can add more value to networks. Right? So it's not a matter of who's going to be those good actors in the marketplace. It's about you have to be. You have to be that good actor. Right? And again, in the current marketplace, we have a bunch of bad actors because the market right now is incentivized towards acting bad. Where if you act bad, if you drill for oil, if you exploit resources, right, you keep ahead of other countries, right? Because if you don't, other countries will. If your company doesn't, other companies will, right? The resource is there to be exploited in the capitalist world, all right? That's what it's there for. And you just have to convince people to give you money to exploit it by the means of making more money for those who wanted that, right? Like that's the current system. And unfortunately, it's now trickled down, right? Like we've exploited our planet like a lot, a lot, that we cannot help ourselves but to start exploiting people, right? Like that's unfortunately the next natural evolution of only doing things for profit, right? Because you have to make more of this money thing that is actively being devalued. You have to make more of it, because if you don't make more of it, then you'll have none of it, or the money you have will become less valuable than it is. So yeah, we're in a system that encourages us to gamble, unfortunately. Right now, we have to gamble. We have to gamble our time. We have to gamble our entire lives in hopes that it will pay out in one way or another, that maybe this employer will take care of me, or maybe I'll be able to save enough money, or maybe I'll be able to pay off my house and it will grow in value, or there's so much maybes, so much gambling, so much almost not wanting to critically think about this entire thing we're in as a collective species, that we just don't. And we just completely retract away from it and just look at these things that we can see right in front of us right now, and not look any further beyond that, unfortunately. Because again, it's like so uncomfortable to, the most uncomfortable to. Yeah, Mel, any differences of operating out many different perspectives. I think wholeness. Critical thinking requires awareness of one's biases, among other things. I think you're completely right on that, Mojo. Right. For instance, I have grown up with the bias of my perspective, right? And a part of that perspective was the fact that my dad was an engineer, and from that position was afforded more capital, was afforded the capital to be able to like purchase a computer when I was very young. And because my dad had that opportunity, I had the opportunity to be able to use a computer, right, and learn from that exchange. And I became what I am today because of that opportunity, right? And I feel like that is the case for pretty much everything in our lives. And I feel the problem that I'm seeing right now is that those opportunities are becoming more and more decoupled, right? Where now everybody has a cell phone, but the cell phones and in the way that we're using them, we're not using them to create anymore, right? We're using them to exploit people. We're using them just to like take something instead of encouraging one another to create something. And it is worrying. It is a little bit worrying. Right, and again, that's my bias. And that bias affects me. It causes me to be judgmental. It causes me to critically think about things. You know what I mean? I'm sure you do. I think we live in a very high opportunity time. But it takes so much critical thinking. It takes so much self-evaluation. It takes so much bias understanding. And ultimately, it takes so much work to realize things these days. Right? And I'm not trying to say that from the perspective of discouragement. Quite the contrary. But from also the place of acknowledgement of how hard it is to gain any traction whatsoever. Right? In my mind, when I started doing these streams initially, right, when I set out with the intention of doing it every single day, my mind believed that all it takes is for you to show up, right, and to show up every day. That's all it takes, really, to make it. And it became very clear, very quickly, that it will take even more than that. And a lot more than that. Right? And then I have to like see that from the perspective of every single other person in the world. If you have to tell someone that it's gonna take every single day of your life for, let's put X there, right? Because we're going on year 5 now. Yeah. Year 5 now of me doing this every single day, right? And if I had to tell myself, you know, when I was 16, that at some point in your life, you're going to spend 4 years of your life doing something every single day. And while you're doing something every single day, you're going to realize that that's not enough. So you're going to have to do even more things every single day. And then at the point at which you are in year 4, you're going to realize that that wasn't enough either. So you're going to start doing even more things. And then after having done all of those things, you will realize that that wasn't enough either. Right? Like, holy shit. I don't think I would take that news very well. I'd be like, oh wow. Oh wow, how about I stop critically thinking about that quickly? Ah yes. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Oh the sky is so beautiful. I look at the sky instead of looking at my problems. And I cannot help but feel. Right? I cannot help but feel. I applied for another job today. I did. Another job has been applied for. This time, an auto sales rep. But even in that, right, I would consider myself valuable. I would consider myself a hard worker. But I have applied for like 10 jobs since starting these streams. And like, I don't even get the courtesy of an interview. I haven't even gotten the courtesy of an interview once. All right, it's just been like a pretty much instant no. Even at the joint recently. And I feel like that was location based as well. If I was still in Hartis, maybe it would be easier, but the person that got the job already lives there. So it makes sense. But still, but still, uh, critically thinking, critically thinking that you're not enough. All right. Observing, having balanced evaluations, having complete observations, and still coming to the conclusion that you're not doing enough. And the best part is that I cannot argue. Even now, as I'm acknowledging this train of thought that is coursing through my brain, I'm like, yup, it's true. It's true. It's true. You're not doing enough. Can you stop? Can you please? Oh, please get off of my back. Well, Mel, that maybe is my biggest stereotype. I don't fear not having money. Like let me put it from this perspective. If I don't have money, I cannot come to America to see Javan. Right? Like that is literally how it works. Literally. All right? For me to come to America, I have to have at least 5,000 US dollars in liquid fiat cash in my bank account. And not only do I need that, but I need to have had that amount of cash in my bank account for a while. I can't just lump sum, 5 grand into my bank account and then go, okay, can I come to America, please? They'll be like, no, bro. Where did that 5K lump sum come from? Did daddy send you money or something? Nope. So you have to have it at least for 3 months prior to that, right? So that means even if I did earn enough money to save 5K in a reasonable time frame, if I had to like calculate my current numbers with the amount I'm earning right now, that means I have to save every single dollar we earn with the Patreon and the yoga and the YouTube for at least like 14 months, right? And then only at that point will I have enough money to then be able to apply. And then that's going to cost money. And then the plane ticket is going to cost money. And then it's going to cost money for me to exist on the other side potentially as well. So it's not a matter of fearing not having money. It's a matter of realizing that I am not allowed in this world to experience my life without it. All right, like it seems like that is the rules. We talked about the rules like yesterday, right? Like these seems to be the rules. All right, and I have literally shown up every single day screaming into the universe, hoping for a better way. And I'm not gonna stop for what it's worth. I'll scream into the universe every day indefinitely. I might just have to do it later in the day. I might just have to not give yoga classes for American mornings. I might just have to do streams after I come back home from work, make my art before I go to sleep. Sorry? Are you saying sorry like I'm asking you to, but you don't know if I'm asking you to? I hope not. I'm just sharing the fractal, right? It's not a fear. It's not a fear. It's more a fact. It's like, I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, wow. This is how it is. This is how it is. And, like, I can be the best at whatever. I can be the best at being myself. I can be the kindest. I can be the most compassionate, the most lovable, the most add your good thing here. And America will be like, don't care, bro. Don't care, bro. Get money. Get money. How about you stack some cash? How about you have some assets? So, how about you buy some? How about you make some debt so you can buy some car so we can see you paying your debt for the next multiple months. So we can then determine that you have assets in your country that you probably don't just want to lose. How about that? And then maybe. Nisha, how are you? I'm good. I'm good. I'm perfectly fine. Today's stream topic has been about critical thinking. Yeah, critical thinking. And I find myself thinking critically. Right. It's almost like I was talking about this whole critical thinking thing. And then the part of me that I feel is too critically thinking about things starts thinking. And yeah, as soon as it starts thinking, there's not much I can do to get it to stop. Other than come to a conclusion, come to a realization, come to like, oh, okay. I have to become a slave. I know you're sharing something. I just share my thoughts. I know that you're sharing your thoughts, but just sorry with a question mark. It's not just one thought, right? Because I don't know what it means. So it makes me have thoughts that isn't constructive to me having good thoughts. You know what I mean? Mojo, hi. Bless you, Nisha. It's nice having you here, friend. Have you been thinking critically about things, Nisha? You are getting married soon. That's some critical thinking. Oh, I have critically thought and I have determined that it's time for me to finish this live stream, actually. I'll finish this one and then start the horizontal one. You don't have to become a slave. I'm glad you have thoughts. Why label them? I stand by my wordsmith. I'm glad you have thoughts. MeltMore, today I'm feeling lonely because I fight with my partner. As I talk about you getting married. How about that, Nisha? Yeah, conflict occurs. Today's stream topic has been about critical thinking. And I was talking about critical thinking from this perspective of how can I be less critical of others and myself in my critical thinking of the future and of what I'm supposed to be doing. So, yeah, I don't know what to say other than I'm sorry that you had a fight. Know that you were loved, dear friend. I don't want to finish this live stream now on that note, but love is true. I'll see you friends again on the next one. I'll see you soon. Sending you blessings.